tonight. Cashing in on the trial of the century.
OJ Simpson buttons, $1.
Then there's the OJ Simpson board game. We got one of those.
5,000, 10,000.
For $10 each, good quality shirts.
Blood, guts, and gore. Love, lust, celebrity, and sex. It's all there.
Merchandising murder. The OJ Simpson marketing bonanza.
Good evening, I'm Knowlton Nash. It's been called the trial of the century. Former football star O.J. Simpson facing charges for murdering his wife. A huge industry has sprung up to cash in on the trial, selling everything from O.J. t-shirts to O.J. wristwatches, from O.J. exercise videos to exclusive TV interviews with potential witnesses. The Simpson case has given us an extraordinary glimpse into justice, media, and morality in the United States, where murder seems to pay for everyone but the victims. Tonight, Josh Freed takes a look at merchandising murder, the O.J. Simpson industry.
His value began to rise the moment he was arrested. Camera crews struggled for a glimpse of him to lead their evening news. Soon, O.J. Simpson would be the hottest property in America. His case would be a dizzying glimpse into justice, the media, and the blurring line between news and entertainment, real life and fiction.
He's not holding a gun, that's a picture of his family!
Within days of his arrest, a TV movie was in production called White Bronco. It was the start of a snowballing industry that would make the Simpson case the latest and most sensational murder to be turned into merchandise. Soon, OJ jokes were the hottest routine in comedy.
OJ Simpson's new exercise video.
You heard the public's jokes. OJ confessed, they squeezed it out of him. OJ's gonna get married to Paula. Thought he'd take another stab at it. You guys are vicious.
Most vicious were the media, which closed in like piranha, turning the courthouse into a bizarre supermarket of journalists and salesmen.
Time ago, Johnny Cochran and Robert Shapiro arrived and literally had to run a media gauntlet. Reporters and cameramen from all over the world were lined up on each side of the entrance here.
Jury reject buttons, $1. O.J. Simpson buttons, $1.
We got videos, we got pins, we've got buttons, somebody walking around with big murals of O.J.
And basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a painting of the death scene. Here's Nicole and Ron right here, both are dead, obviously.
The song is called Don't Blame the Juice. OJ, what happened to you?
At first, it was a small cottage industry. Hustlers making a buck off anything they could put Simpson's face on.
That's the mugshot. Him in court, OJ and Nicole.
But the stakes quickly grew.
This is the case for the defense, which is OJ's side. And you flip the book over, and you have the case for the prosecution, which is obviously Nicole's story.
One company paid Simpson $100,000 to sign football cards in jail. On the American celebrity market, your value only rises as your reputation falls.
Anytime someone does something notorious, there's going to be a big increase in short-term demand for their items. For example, when Magic Johnson came out as HIV positive, it happened to him. When a couple of NBA players died tragically, it happened to them. And now with this OJ thing, I sold everything I had, which was just sitting gathering dust until he was accused of this crime.
PK 4013970061794. That's his name now. It's no longer OJ Simpson. Now everybody's capitalizing on other people's suffering. It's America, man. Gotta love it.
From the start, the case was a marketer's dream.
What are you reporting? This is AC. I have OJ in the car.
It began with a Hollywood-style car chase, watched by 95 million Americans. And the chase still hasn't ended. The chase for stories, profits, and ratings. And understanding why reveals much about America. The cult of celebrity, the frenzy of the media, the strange obsession with crime and entertainment. Part of the phenomenon was fueled by public curiosity. Within a day, the scene of the killings was so popular, tour companies added it to their route. And even the car Simpson drove had become a sudden status symbol.
Sales sure have increased. We can't keep used ones in stock. They come in looking for the white one. We call it the OJ Special.
There was a bizarre appetite for Simpson, but large players were already feeding it, looking for ways to push the price of Simpson property up. And most of them weren't driving Broncos.
And believe me, if we can package other kinds of OJ paraphernalia, there's a VHS of OJ that he made years ago before Frogman. That went
Bill Burns is a Hollywood agent who packages Instabooks about true crime.
Groundswell out there for product related to OJ is enormous, and we're going to need more than just a book. I think we can top this thing out at about 400,000 to 500,000.
The moment he heard about the killings, he went into action.
The longer the trial runs, the longer it's on TV.
Where others saw tragedy, Burns saw opportunity.
When I saw OJ Simpson in handcuffs standing in front of his house with the police manipulating him around, I said, that's a book. Whatever the outcome of that trial, that image of OJ Simpson standing there in handcuffs in front of his own house with his wife dead, that was the book. OJ is Mr. America. I mean, he invented a whole industry. There were no such things as sports, celebrity, corporate athletes before OJ. Hertz and OJ created that. Of all athletes, of all celebrities, OJ Simpson had the most recognizable face.
What does that mean to you?
It's the most recognizable face on television. It's the most recognizable face on a book. Well, it's a 50-50 venture of which you're getting 50% of 50%.
Burns is your classic Hollywood pitchman, a cellular phone with legs, whose rapid-fire spiels have earned him the nickname the White Tornado.
Basically, the way it breaks down is this.
He's a former English professor who specializes in books about serial killers, from the Genovese River Killer to Jeffrey Dahmer. Burns was ready to package Simpson, but he needed a partner in crime publishing.
He was a 25-year-old guy that he was officially stabbed to death on June 12th with O.J. Simpson's ex-wife, Nicole Simpson Brown. We know all of that stuff. Was he indeed Nicole Simpson Brown's lover, or were they only close friends? Was he a gigolo? I mean, that's one of the things that we're trying to find out.
Globe Tabloid is a celebrity magazine that jumped onto the O.J. wagon from the first moment and quickly found a saleable angle. O.J. was innocent. The paper sells about 1 million copies a week, and Burns' pitch appealed to them. Globe writers could recycle their stories into an Instabook, and Burns would promote and package it. The book was called Juice, and it was out almost as fast as they signed a contract. It was researched in LA, written in Florida, edited in New York, lawyered in Chicago, printed in Pennsylvania, and on the market 3 weeks after the idea entered Burns' head. It didn't touch paper until it was printed. Burns calls it a cyber book. Globe was already churning out so-called OJ exclusives, and they saved the juicy one for the book.
The story we broke with Globe in our book was the story about OJ's father being a drag queen in San Francisco. We printed that in Globe, and we printed it in chapter 2 of the book at the same time. And wow, did that create a dent, because we were able to go on TV and said the untold story of OJ's childhood.
A tabloid reports that OJ Simpson's father was a drag queen who died of AIDS. Truman Simpson, who lives in the Bay Area, issued a formal statement saying, "My father was gay, but he was no drag queen, and he did not die of AIDS."
Hey, Bill. How are you? Good to see you.
How you doing?
Thanks for saying down that stuff.
No problem.
Was the story true? It hardly mattered. Juice had already sold 200,000 copies, and Burns was in New York promoting sales and product tie-ins.
Hey, Bill. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you, Juice.
What's doing? Sit.
Sit down.
Ideas were pouring in for everything from OJ songs to an interactive OJ trivia
There was
game.
the OJ Simpson board game. We got one of those, which is this big board, and it's like the OJ Simpson, and of course, like you're running through the airport, but the airport is really like running through your life, right? So there's that. Then there's Clue. There's a whole version of Clue. It's the OJ Simpson murders, and you've got all the likely characters, all the players in the murder. I'm supposedly writing.
But Burns had more on his mind than trivia games. He was pitching a sequel to Juice. To listen to him, the story was the hottest literary property of the century.
This is a great American tragedy. If Shakespeare were writing a play about an American hero, an aristocratic hero, who falls from the loftiest of pinnacles, he'd write the story of O.J. Simpson.
The Big Apple, publishing capital of the U.S. And Burns wasn't the only player in town banking on O.J. Two other publishing houses had churned out quick books too, and one by Pinnacle had done even better than Burns's.
He's in the movies. He's everybody's hero. He's a good-looking guy, first of all.
Pinnacle Books president Walter Zacharias also did Instabooks, and he'd seen the profit margin in Simpson as fast as Burns.
And they were going to talk to him about it. And, you know, you're going to generate this kind of publicity. It's a risk, but publishing is a crapshoot, you know, and we have to take certain risks in publishing, which we did.
How do you feel about the results?
Well, I ended up on number 3 to the New York Times list, so we can't feel too bad about it.
That all depends on how you look at it. Pinnacle's author, Mark Saraceni, wrote 50 pages a day and turned out the best written of the 3 books. It sold 400,000 copies and made almost $1 million profit, which would normally mean royalties of about $130,000. But in the Simpson industry, the money usually goes to those who have it.
I wrote very fast. I wrote 21 hours a day.
You made about $1 million. What have you made?
A lot less than that. Let's just say I made what a white-collar college graduate would make in 3 months. How's that? Is that a nice way of putting it? So basically, I paid about $10,000 probably, all told.
Saraceni says Pinnacle wanted a revised version and offered him another $2,000. But he'd had enough of the OJ industry.
A lot of the tabloids are making up stories, paying people to say anything. That's just plain greed. That's just get it out there, get it out there. And I met a certain amount of that with the publisher I dealt with, wrote this book for. I mean, at one point, one of the people there said, it doesn't have to be good, it just has to be finished by Tuesday.
But other players had much more time for the Simpson story.
National Enquirer. Yes, is that a human interest story or is that about a celebrity?
The things that we would love to have on the royal family are if there's any pregnancies, any births, any divorces, any marriages, any romances.
Okay, listen, let's quickly look at next week's page 1 and inside the paper what we've got that's non-OJ. What about Oprah?
Basically, it's Oprah's secret brother. Oprah's father fathered a sibling that she knows nothing about. He's 37 years old. Oprah doesn't know about this at this point.
So Oprah Winfrey has a secret brother.
Secret brother. It's a blockbuster.
Might be very interesting to find out.
National Enquirer is the king of the tabloids, covering Oprah, Michael Jackson, and the other celebrities who are America's royalty. Enquirer has a network of informers across the country. Hotel doormen, bartenders, and hairdressers all phoning in hot tips about celebrities for cash.
Yes, Serge. Look, you know, I agree. You don't have to sell me. I just have to sell them.
Enquirers set their army loose and tied OJ in with almost every star in Hollywood.
We just finished this OJ deal with this woman, this peasant woman in that was Nicole's maid, moving the story.
Well, the best thing he could give us is what he started to give us last time, which was how OJ used to stalk Nicole and that bit about getting into the house when she was unaware.
When you stand and look at Nicole's grave, are there older family members buried next to her in a line like that?
Get her. We should get her fashion analyst.
The Simpson trial is the biggest story in Inquirer history, outselling even Elvis. OJ issues usually crack 3 million copies. That's an increase of 20%, worth about $1 million extra a week. Even a special issue on Jackie Onassis just after her death sold only 2.8 million. And a recent one on Lonnie Anderson plummeted to 2.2 million. OJ is money in the bank, which is why there were 17 headlines the first 21 weeks, usually hot exclusives. In the tabloid world, everything is billed as exclusive. Still, if there was a Pulitzer Prize for OJ gossip, Inquirer would win hands down. They're playing on their own turf.
It's like a home court basketball game for us, you know. The New York Times, CNN, all the network news shows, they're all playing on our court. They're all trying to do our type of story, and they keep stumbling at it because they're not very good at it. You know, it would be like me going to try to cover the UN. I'm not sure I could do it, and I certainly couldn't do it very well.
Woodward and Bernstein got their scoops from Deep Throat, but Inquirer uses deep pockets.
You can definitely give him $1,000 up front to keep him sweet and hold on to him, right? But there's no way we're going to be spending $20,000 on what he's told us so far. If you can get him down to $5, you probably got a deal. I mean, it's interesting. It's you know, OJ's suicide call, that's fine, but it just doesn't have enough punch to it.
How about maybe 5,000, 10,000? Are we in the right ballpark?
Die would be good. Charles naked? No, maybe that's too good.
Does she have any more pictures, or does she have a real glamorous, sexy shot of Nicole?
They've been up all night negotiating with a former maid at Nicole's house. She claims she saw things, and she hasn't talked to the police. Negotiations were tough.
You know, when you get a deal, when you have a signed contract, and then at the last minute before we do a follow-up, and they hold you up for another $6,000, I don't know how somebody didn't get killed in that.
It came close.
You know?
It came very close.
How much did they pay her? Well, these guys are cagey about figures.
We paid her less than $100,000, and we paid her more than we did for the knife, and I think it's been said in court, I think we paid $15 for the knife. So
between 15 and 100.
Yeah.
I'd say about 30.
Closer to 15.
And then you got the other picture of her, how her life is.
Inquirer aims largely at a female audience, but you wouldn't know it from their story meetings. Editorial members say they try to think like women.
Sounds like a potentially very, very interesting story on Nicole Simpson. Can you give us a briefing on exactly what we have here?
Sure. I sort of mapped out what I think could be the lead. And let's see what everybody thinks. OJ Simpson abused his ex-wife, Nicole, so much during the final months of her life. She plunged into trance-like states of depression and had to be physically shaken back into reality.
Have we got lots of stuff, how she interacted with the kids, how she loved her children, what she liked to wear?
It's all there. It's all there, but that, to me, that's, I don't know, it's...
Inquirer always likes to find a positive angle.
I don't think you should...
I think we've got to remember that I think people are still interested in Nicole's stories and aren't necessarily negative. This obviously is negative to it. Hey, why don't you think the cops wouldn't have spoken to this one?
I think they're just undermanned. I found this on the Jackson case, too. They just don't have the same resources, basically, that a lot of the news media have.
Inquirer has beaten police to a number of stories. Among them was an interview with a knife dealer who said Simpson bought a knife shortly before Nicole's murder. Prosecutors found out about the story days before it was printed and rushed the knife seller to the witness stand before Inquirer hit the newsstand.
So you wanted to get something for yourself, is that correct? Now, did you sign a contract with the National Enquirer?
Yes, I did. He offered $12,000, $500, $12,500.
When the knife seller's testimony was almost over, one of the prosecutors allowed himself a moment of pride at beating out the real competition for witnesses.
So in a sense, Mr. Camacho, by virtue of your testimony today, we have scooped the National Enquirer. Is that correct?
Inquirer tried to scoop the cops to a lot of potential witnesses. Brian Cato Kalin, Simpson's house guest, was offered $150,000.
Brian, B-R-I-A-N.
The owner of OJ's limo was offered $30,000, and OJ's girlfriend reported $100,000. Al Cowling, the friend who drove OJ's car in the chase, was offered $1 million. He said no, but others took the money and talked.
Tonight on Hard Copy, a world exclusive. A key witness in the case against O.J. Simpson breaks her silence. Called before
The show
grand
Hard
jury.
Copy paid $5,000 to a grand jury witness who claimed she'd seen OJ the night Nicole was killed.
He looked crazy, like a madman gone mad, insane.
In the case against O.J., it's the grand jury witness.
But when prosecutors found out she'd been paid for her story, they decided not to let her testify.
I was disturbed to learn that some
Checkbook
information
journalism is
regarding
causing
some
problems for many judges, not just Lance Ito of the Simpson case. California Judge Florence Cooper has tried death penalty cases on the same bench as Ito.
There is a real concern that if someone who has given information to the press about having witnessed a crime because he remembers the person's face, and then gets on the stand and it's revealed that he was paid $5,000 to say that, his credibility is severely damaged. The person may be telling the truth, or maybe he just made it up because the money was available.
What happens as more and more money is available from more and more sources?
In a town where celebrity landmarks are an industry, 875 Bundy Drive in Brentwood will go down as one of the grimmest landmarks of all. The house where cops say O.J. Simpson went on a murderous rampage.
Got there about 6 o'clock.
Steve Dunleavy is the star reporter of A Current Affair, a recent genre of show that brings the hype of tabloid style to TV.
His name is Mitchell Mesco, and he is a caddy at this playground for the rich and super rich. Simpson's character, according to Mesco, was that of a man who was completely out of control.
He looked at him and he said, every time your damn gets funky, you want to blame it on somebody else.
When O.J. behaved like this, what was your reaction?
I think the reaction from everybody, including myself, was I was stunned. I'd never seen O.J. behave that way before in my life.
It took me and the rest of the staff about 0.5 of a second to realize that this may be the story of the century. In living color, blood, guts, and gore, love, lust, celebrity, and sex, it's all there. Now, you know, some people would say, well, isn't that disgusting? Yes, it is disgusting. We certainly don't make the rules of society. We're just a mirror of society.
It's a somewhat distorted mirror, reflecting mainly celebrities, sex, and sensationalism. A Current Affair was the first TV tabloid, but now there are several competitors, entire shows working full-time to dig up gossip on celebrities.
Is getting married at Herbert Ross's estate out in the Hamptons.
Yeah.
So
And
Kennedy's going to be there to bring a date.
Isn't he broken up with Daryl Hannah?
He's broken up with Daryl and dating some girl who looks just like Jackie.
He's now
A Current Affair has worked OJ like a gold mine, with stories about the secret sex lives of witnesses and regular stakeouts to see who's visiting OJ in jail.
At that point, do we want to stake it out?
We may want to go out ourselves. Let me just check with Bill. I'm going to bring up a couple of these things, because there's also a John Denver.
As an old hand at tabloids, Dunleavy sees the OJ story as the ultimate peephole into the Hollywood world.
It really is the Sodom and Gomorrah pit, an underbelly of Hollywood, which we all know is there, we suspect is there, and then it explodes like a bloody balloon right in front of us, and it never stops. The story never stops.
It never stops because the media won't let it stop.
July's Playboy Playmate centerfold is still racking
They
her
find
emotions
more and
to
more
find out
celebrities
exactly
to
what
link up
God
with
did
OJ.
when O.J. Simpson, whom she had never met, called her on the telephone the day Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman were slaughtered.
And it's not just the tabloids. A growing number of network news magazines are sliding towards tabloidism, in a strange marriage of news and gossip.
Tonight,
He was the other victim, the young man brutally murdered with Nicole Simpson, a Barbara Walters exclusive.
ABC did a special on the man killed with Nicole Simpson.
Who was Ron Goldman?
It's September 20th, 1994.
NBC got an exclusive two-part interview with OJ's kids and asked them questions like, do you think Nicole was battered?
No, I do not. Absolutely not.
CBS settled for OJ's sister and mom.
It's Eye to Eye with Connie Chung.
When you asked your son if he killed Nicole, what did he say?
He said, no, Mommy, I love her.
In order to pray. Prosecution's motion. We want no
The spread
delays.
of all OJ TV has become a kind of news act, blotting out serious news from the rest of the world, says Howard Rosenberg, media critic for the LA Times.
A really responsible journalist said to me not long ago, isn't it amazing, okay, how much closer tabloid journalism has come to us. It's amazing, but he had it wrong. They haven't come closer to us. We've come closer to them. That's why the line is becoming blurrier, because we're all covering the same story.
One reason Americans are covering the story to death is because it's legal, unlike most countries where it's extremely difficult to publish details of a case until they come out in trial.
New question. The member for Burlington
A current affair was censored by Ontario's provincial legislature when they tried to broadcast a story about Canadian court cases.
Be aware that an American show entitled A Current Affair will air a program on October 26th about the
It was the controversial trials of Paul Bernardo and his ex-wife Carla Homolka. There's a publication ban on practically all details, and most Canadians know nothing more than rumor. One man tried to distribute American news stories about the case.
What is the difference between, say, Canada or my birthplace, Australia? It's freedom of the press, the right to know, versus the rights of the accused. Now, we can debate all day about what's right and what's wrong, but I can tell you, I'm glad I'm a journalist in America rather than that beautiful country who has very, very archaic information laws.
His attitude's understandable. America's media has gorged on Simpson with an estimated 27,000 print stories, not to mention every news and talk show on TV. NBC's Tom Brokaw alone did 73 items in the first 100 days of coverage.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
The LA Times put Simpson's name in over 1,000 stories, and even the August New Yorker did several pieces because Simpson issues jumped 50%.
This story reminds me of the whales that are slain by Eskimos. You know, the Eskimos slay a whale and they use every bit of the carcass for something, whether to make candles, with oil, everything. That's what this story is. I mean, it's like a whale. Everybody's using a bit of it for their own purposes, whether it's a tabloid show, whether it's newspapers, whether it's a regular television series, whether it's Entertainment Tonight, shows like that. I mean, they all take a piece of this sucker and use it for their own. And it looks like a whale, and pretty soon there's nothing left but the carcass.
It's a whole different look. It's a different cover, embossed, a foil cover.
The tornado is back in action.
Yeah. The knife is in high relief. What we're going to do is we're going to have a big black band right across the center saying $1 million reward. Get your details inside. Folder with the audio cassettes in it, that binder, which is the
Burns
big
commutes to New
$200
York as if he was driving across town. And today he's in town to do some more pitching. He says Globe is on the verge of financing the Simpsons sequel, to be called Juice 2. Burns is shopping the project around to build momentum, going door to door, distributor to distributor, meeting to meeting, spiel to spiel.
If your story turns out to be true, and that's the murderer, you win $1 million.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Who's
that's
providing $1 million?
Globe.
Juice 2 isn't even out yet, but Burns already has plans for another Simpson
In
book.
other words, you pop for $4.99, you win $1 million. That's not a bad idea. We're going to become the first entity to do an instant series. We're going from instant book to instant series. Juice One creates your territory. Then you do your trial watchers edition. That opens up a bigger scene because now you've got people watching the trial, reading your book. The jury hangs. The trial ends in nothing. Ends in a hung jury. What are they going to do? What's the prosecution going to do? That's Juice 3.
What about you personally, the morale? Do you feel a moral qualm about doing OJ stories?
Absolutely not. Because when OJ decided he was going to be a public figure, when any public figure says that, I'm going to live in front of the cameras as a part of my daily existence. My life is public property. What I do belongs to the world. That's the bargain with the devil. That's Faust. When the contract is broached, when you fall and the media overtakes you like a gigantic wave, all you're getting is what you bargained for at the very beginning. If you live in the goldfish bowl, you die in that same goldfish bowl.
Whether Simpson is innocent or guilty is now only one of the issues in his trial. American justice itself seems to be on trial as lawyers are turned into gunslingers in a nationwide TV drama, and viewers study every smile, shrug, and tick of the defendant to come to their own verdict. The courtroom camera offers a window on justice, but is it education or titillation? It's not a new issue in America.
Lenses tell that Bruno Hauptmann is coming to trial in the little courtroom at Flemington, New Jersey.
The first live radio broadcast of a trial took place in 1935, when Bruno Hauptmann was charged with kidnapping and killing the baby of famed pilot Charles Lindbergh. The sensational court case was filmed while lawyers played to the cameras and the radio mics.
Didn't you lie on the road? Time and time again, didn't you? I did not. You did not? No. All right.
At the courthouse, salespeople sold souvenir bits of the baby's sweater and miniature ladders like the one Hauptmann had used to kidnap the child.
And this fellow, reenacting the Lindbergh case,
One company used the trial to sell a magic new product, an invisible ray that stopped baby nappers cold.
And when he'll pass the ray, he'll close a contact that turns on the light and rings an alarm bell. All rats are frightened by sudden noise and light.
The press's behavior appalled justice officials, who banned cameras from U.S. courts for the next 40 years. But the state of Florida finally allowed them back in 1977, and real-life court drama is now becoming home entertainment.
And enjoyed every minute of it.
They're not actors pretending. I mean, these are live people with real emotions.
If watching court TV were any more addictive, it would be illegal.
Did you and your brother kill your mother and father?
Sensational trials like the Menendez brothers have recently captured the American public's attention, as did the testimony of Lorena Bobbitt.
Next, Lorena.
He took it off. He pulled my underwears down, and
but it was only a small taste of what was to come with Simpson.
Into me.
CNN had watched its ratings slip from the glory days of the Gulf War, and the Simpson car chase had shown them the story's market. Court TV would be going live from the preliminary hearing, and CNN decided to do the same.
Well, 96 potential jurors will be ordered back to the courtroom October 12th to begin voir dire. That's when attorneys for both sides and the judge will begin individually questioning these people.
The network practically went on war footing.
Anybody visiting OJ Simpson today at the jail?
No, there's a lockdown, believe it or not.
The entire Los Angeles bureau was switched over to full-time Simpson. There was a Simpson investigative unit,
Your life is in such a state of imbalance.
a Simpson jail watch,
Jail stakeout will be Dree.
Yeah.
Lamont's doing a live at 5.
and live hourly updates often eclipsing stories like Haiti. The result? some of the highest ratings in CNN's history. LA's deputy bureau chief is Suzanne Spurgeon.
How many people are actually working on this story?
70 people. It includes the operations people, like technical people, but 70. Every person right in this area is working on Simpson. There are people who want to do other stories, and sometimes we say, yeah, okay, we're going to go ahead and do like a story on the governor's race, and break away from OJ. One reporter might break away from the day, but the main focus is going to be the OJ Simpson story through the end of the trial.
With CNN going live from the hearings, other networks fell like dominoes, fearful of losing viewers, ratings, and ad revenue. Network after network announced their stations would also broadcast the hearings live, each with their own bombshells. Each with a cast of lawyers and paid Insta experts making a living off the case.
Tonight we take another look at video action.
As the ratings battle intensified, the frenzy often overwhelmed the facts. KCBS claimed that prosecutor Marcia Clark had entered Simpson's estate before she got a search warrant.
Clark had entered the property before the judge gave the green light.
But the station had read its own clock wrong and was forced to make an embarrassing retraction.
We want to apologize. We now have reason to believe that we made a mistake in one of our reports.
There was also a KNBC report claiming DNA tests had matched some blood on O.J. Simpson's socks with Nicole Simpson's blood, potentially damning evidence.
Present with counsel.
The most definitive type of DNA test reveal that the blood on Simpson's socks is a genetic match with Nicole Brown Simpson's blood.
In our letter to Judge
But the test had never even been done, and viewers heard a familiar story.
Inaccuracy in our news story. Now, KNBC has been told by some sources that information given to us and reported by us is, in some respect, factually incorrect.
I'm so saturated by the irresponsibility of the media that I'm beyond being outraged. I mean, I'm almost numb to it at this point. And for this kind of information to come out, and for it to be incorrect, and for it to be so prejudicial, is outrageous. It's irresponsible.
In all this frenzy to be first, and all this frenzy to participate in this circus-like atmosphere, you have at the core of it something called live television, which is the capacity of television to report news instantaneously, not only as it's happening, but even before it happens, and that's the problem.
OJ, can you tell us anything, OJ?
It's also an extension of something that has happened on television in recent years, and that is the glorification of the process over content. It's not what you get that's important, it's the fact that you got it that becomes important. You have a copter shot of OJ's mansion, and even though nothing is happening there, you show up because it's a copter shot. You say, so-and-so is over here with live shots of the mansion.
This is Los Angeles Criminal Court. It's here that jury selection is...
By the time jury selection started, the Simpson story was a self-perpetuating industry in which the media was often covering itself.
Jury selection continues. The question remains, can O.J. get a fair trial?
We're very nervous about one thing, and that's we really don't know whether we're going to be thrown out of that building because of leaks and alleged false reporting. Judge Ito is said to be very annoyed with everyone. He's outraged.
Media and marketers were part of a giant sales bazaar feeding off each other.
Let's go back down here and find our camera there.
How much are you selling it for?
$5 each.
Some people might say you're trying to capitalize.
Everybody's trying to capitalize. Everybody's trying to capitalize. Only I'm taking the
T-shirts, $10. Don't squeeze the juice.
Después, si pueden ver, ahí está el rostro de OJ Simpson y después está diciendo recen por OJ, y si dan la vuelta la camiseta dice no expriman al juice.
OJ Simpson buttons, jury reject button. OJ Simpson jury reject, didn't make the cut. Everybody's here for the same reason.
What's the reason?
1 minute, I'll show you. This is the reason. Only for money. That's the only reason we're out here. Everybody's here for money. His lawyers are here for money too. The rental car services, the hotels, the restaurants, the t-shirt people, the press, they're all here for the same purpose, make money. The same reason you're here. Is that right? Is that why you came from Canada? Somebody's paying you. Is that right?
Not whether it's within a bribe or...
Cameras were barred from jury selection, so the network set up outside in a media city known as Camp OJ. Everyone tried to get a better view than the next guy in a Woodstock of journalists.
The
The trial of O.J. Simpson began here today with day one of the jury selection.
But again, no verdict on that tonight from Judge Lancito so far.
Sydney Master Control, can you hear me okay now? Sydney Master Control.
Careers are being made and broken as some shows double their ratings. Every reporter looks for their own angle. And when they don't have anything to say, they film each other, talking about each other.
ABC, the network over here, had OJ's sisters on one night. NBC had OJ's mother on the next night.
Including that guy there. Can you see him? He's just whispering to his mate. Now, here's the guy that comes down here every day and shouts out, "Don't squeeze the juice."
Everything should start very shortly. Reporting live outside the courthouse, Jay Lawrence, KFI News.
At times, the story seemed like an electronic echo, drowning out news from the rest of the planet. The daily photo opportunity is the arrival of the defense lawyers, and the reporters grill them with tough questions.
Have you had enough time to prepare, sir, do you think?
Yes, we have.
It's going to go the way that you had planned it?
Absolutely.
Johnny, have you had enough time to prepare?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're ready to go.
Teams working together?
Absolutely, absolutely.
How about the
Gentlemen, are you all right? Why can you get a fair trial? We're going to try. We're going to try. We got to do the best we can. Thanks.
Robert, can you get a fair trial?
Yes.
Then nothing happens until the lawyers leave 8 hours later. So the media hangs around desperate to find something, anything to shoot. And lots of people oblige.
You know why women are beaten every day? Women are beaten because men cuss and women cuss. God don't like these TV, movie idols. That's why you're going to hell. And some of you are smoking cigarettes. That's how dumb you are.
This man drove in from San Francisco for his 15 seconds of fame, and picture-starved film crews were all too eager to help out.
Well, the story is the story, which is the story. It's like looking in a cracked mirror. I mean, there are probably people down there at the courtroom who don't even know what the story is. They're there because they're there almost instinctively. Don't think about what we're doing, just do it because everybody else is doing it. And if we don't do it and everybody else is doing it, then we're going to look terrible because we're not doing it.
Go in the side door, please.
My big fear, okay, is that this is really the tip of the iceberg. I mean, what we're seeing is the tip, and the iceberg is yet to reveal itself in all its ugliness.
All right, what we're going to start with is what we call easy impact.
The exploitation of the Simpson case grows more and more frenetic. Playboy hired Simpson to do an exercise video 2 weeks before the murders, but showed no qualms about turning it out anyway.
OJ started beating me, kicking me, punching me. He hit me so hard once I thought I was going blind.
Faye Resnick, a friend of Nicole's, turned out a book and tape purporting to tell Nicole's side of the story. She practically declared Simpson guilty.
You will know why I believe that OJ killed my best friend.
Some shows set up mock juries to try Simpson on radio and TV.
Today, judge for yourself. OJ Simpson, innocent or guilty?
As I look at it now, I can't say O.J. Simpson killed her.
I really believe that O.J. was a drug-using, womanizing egomaniac.
I think he panicked.
As the frenzy continues to grow, everyone wonders about the effect on justice and on jurors.
Not like that. Not like that, you don't.
Cameras in court can have value, but in celebrity cases, do they inform or inflame?
I voted innocent.
Innocent. 3-2. Ashley, how did you vote?
I voted innocent.
Innocent. 4-2. Rayon, how did you vote?
I voted not guilty.
Innocent.
And is a fair trial possible when everyone in the country knows half the evidence?
I voted innocent.
And most have come to their own verdict.
And our jury foreman, Stan, how did you vote?
Absolutely 100% guilty.
Guilty.
There's so much information beamed at us at every moment of the day that, I mean, I have left my courtroom, gone down an elevator and gotten into my car, and as I drive out of the building, I hear myself being quoted. And nanoseconds have passed, and I'm on the air. You know? And so the ability to just, you know, they're beaming it directly from vans outside the building to television stations. The trial I did 2 years ago was the movie of the week on one of the network television channels right in the middle of the trial. And the headline ad in TV Guide talked about how these men had murdered the victims. And I thought, well, I guess we don't have to worry about a verdict because TV Guide has told us they're guilty. So it's real tough to protect a right to a fair trial with that kind of publicity.
Globe tabloid's editor is Phil Bunton.
The police interrogation of OJ, I really need to get
Even he wonders how far the media should be allowed to go.
I think that there has to be some sort of clamping down of information between the arrest of a suspect and the trial. The public good isn't served by all this information, but it sells papers. Yeah.
You know, I'd go for that in a heartbeat.
Steve Dunleavy also admits some restrictions on coverage might be fairer, but he warns there would be a large price.
Going somewhere else and saying he's been offered money. We don't want that. It has a ripple-down effect. If you can't name the person who is arrested in a murder, then you're not going to write a book about the person arrested in a murder. And you're not going to do an instant movie of the week about the person arrested in a murder. And then you're not going to get baseball cards of the person arrested in the murder, and you won't get T-shirts of the person arrested in the murder. So, to some degree, that stifling, well, that jurisprudence, which is so evident in Canada, possibly wipes out an entire capitalistic playing field.
We have all the production costs, the printing costs, the shipping costs.
Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, Bill Burns is still pitching.
Okay, so what else is on the agenda besides the second Juice book?
Globe dropped out of the second book and published a trial magazine, cutting Burns out of the profits. But he hustled up some new partners, and Juice 2, the trial edition, is ready for print, with Juice 3 and maybe Juice 4, 5, and 6 to follow.
PD, drawings that would drive you crazy. This is the real stuff. This is all the grand jury stuff we have.
It's got to get out within the next...
America is a country of salesmen, where everything is marketed. From athletes to earthquakes to a peek into your past life.
This is travel. This is you need to expand your mind. And if this type of placement here.
America is also a country which leads the industrialized world in violent deaths. So it's only natural that murder should be seen as another product to be packaged and sold to whatever extent the law permits. Every time another person is shot, most Americans react with horror. But somewhere, someone else sees an opportunity and looks forward to making another killing off of murder.
Right now in the Midwest, there is a woman somewhere, and in the back of her mind, something is festering. Is she going to go cut off somebody's body parts? Is she going to go kill a bunch of old people? Is she going to go on a shooting spree? What is she going to do? But she's there, she's planning a crime, it will take place, maybe not this year, maybe next year, but that'll be the next biggest story, and everybody will be there. And the morning the case breaks, even before the first homicide detectives get there, as they drive up to the scene, they will see a rolling meadow of antenna trucks, their arms reaching to the sky, because the news media will be there first.
And will you be there?
I'll be right there.